Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Aliens and UFOs video. Alright, one last entry here based on one of your suggestions, and I'll give this series a brief rest, start working on some other stuff. In fact, I think I might do the mysteries and oddities videos or the cryptids and monsters. I guess it'll be a toss-up between the two. This one is one of the newer suggestions, and it has to do with an incident that also happened very recently, at least in a sense when compared to some of my past videos. Generally, such incidents there occurred maybe in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, even a couple of centuries back. This one was 1996, so pretty recent, just about 20 or so years ago, and it has to do with this. Probably the most famous extraterrestrial encounter slash sighting, and in some cases capture, there in Brazil. It's called the Varginha UFO incident, and it occurred specifically in Varginha, Brazil. So lots of interesting information tied to this, primarily the fact that there's so much controversy because of there being so little factual evidence regarding to it. Much of the evidence, in fact, tied to it is either hearsay or anonymous sources, or if you go over to the extreme, made up stuff. So lots of interesting stuff to talk about. So what was the Varginha UFO incident? Well, again, it was alleged sighting of some sort, and in some cases capture of some extraterrestrial beings there in Varginha, Brazil. It all started with this. You're looking at some girls here. They're the ones that reportedly saw these creatures, and that's where things snowballed thereafter. So it happened again in 1996. There were these girls, three young women ranging from 14 to 21, all of them sisters, including a friend named Katia. They allegedly saw a creature pretty much huddling by some, I guess, brick wall of some sort. Here's an artistic impression, in fact, of what was witnessed. They saw this creature there on the afternoon of January 20th, and this is how they described it. It was something about 5 feet tall. It was bipedal, so just like us, human, you and I. It had a large head, very thin body, these weird V-shaped feet of some sort. Its skin was brownish in hue, but most interestingly enough was its face, this head of it. It had what would be considered a triangular head, in other words, the chin being the bottom and then the head being the larger regions, and then very large red eyes. In fact, these eyes seem to have been vertically oval, is how they're described, and then most prominent were these weird, I guess you could call them, horns that were sitting on top of its head. Not horns that were sticking up outright, but horns that seemed to curve towards the top of its head, almost like an ornamental crest of some sort. But they saw this alien there, huddling by the brick wall. It seemed to be that it was either sick, wobbly, something that was affecting it with regards to it being able to stand up. And so they assumed immediately that this was a creature that was injured or sick or damaged in some way. Wisely enough, they didn't do anything to the creature, and then the creature, this alien, seemed to do nothing to them. Instead, they ran back home, told their mother that they had seen the quote-unquote devil, at least according to their stance, and the mother, of course, didn't believe them until she went to finally inspect that same area. When she did so, that's when she in turn stated that she saw, or actually smelled something first, rather than seeing anything. There was a very strong ammonia-like smell that permeated that area. She also saw the footsteps that were tied to this alleged creature, and then there was the only other thing there, a dog apparently that was sniffing that place around that location. But she didn't see the creature herself. But in terms of other sightings, apparently there was several other creatures that were witnessed with regards to this area as well. You have to cut to 2 days later, in fact. Another creature of some sort, very similar to the one I just described, was found lying alongside a road. This was found, I guess, or cited by some of the locals there. In fact, when I was reading the information on several articles, it could be more than 100 people apparently that seen these creatures wandering about their area. And it's all the same story. These creatures seem to have been damaged, injured, they appeared sick. Whatever was the case, they didn't seem universally okay. Even if we're interpreting, I guess, how an alien would react whenever it has something wrong with it. This seems like the universal sign of it seems to be that you can still tell when something is wrong with it, and in that case, that was what occurred here. Similarly, there were very strong UFO sightings that were happening around that location too. With regards to that city, that Varginha, people reported these sightings, including the owners of a farm. Their names were Arelina and Eurico de Freitas. They said they saw a UFO hovering around their farm, agitating their animals, doing so and disturbing them for about 40 minutes or so before it disappeared. It outright just disappeared. This ties into another UFO sighting where people were stating that some of their some of their livestock were being found, I guess, disappeared. Like they weren't finding them anywhere. The livestock were just nowhere to be seen, but they were seeing these strange UFOs hovering around certain locations too. One other sighting, one last one regarding these creatures, there was yet another of these aliens that was sighted by a local zoo, in this case by one of the janitors working there at the local zoo. And when that happened, some other animals within that zoo were also, under strange circumstances, either outright disappeared or were found dead. Again, all of this tying into both the sightings of the UFO and then whatever these strange creatures were. By the way, they were termed as extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs, for example. That's the first time I've ever heard that term, but it seems like that's the term used to describe whenever you have an actual encounter with these UFOs. Now, here's where things start to get a little strange, in the sense that there's a lot of lack of evidence tied to this. So, according to some of these witnesses and what they've stated, once they found these creatures, and then I guess the alarm went off throughout the community of what was happening, there was apparently some military presence that came about that took these creatures, and then that was it. Like, these creatures were literally abducted themselves by military forces, and then they were never seen or found again. And then with regards to the official stance of the military thereafter, their stance is that there's nothing that had occurred, nothing in terms of these sightings, nothing in terms of the UFO that people were experiencing, nothing along those lines regarding to it. Of course, the instant fallback that anyone within the UFO community states is, if there's always a denial from the military, is because it's a cover-up with regards to that, or B, it's something where the military is outright lying. Like, they're stating that no, there's nothing that occurred, but of course they're just stating a bold-faced lie with regards to that. Or C, it could just be the truth in of itself, because this leads to the other thing that I was mentioning earlier. Remember those girls that apparently saw this creature at the very beginning of my video? Well, I'll include a link below, but apparently one of them has recanted her stance. She stated, I was looking at some of the information on there, but she was stating that it was all made up. It's very weird because there's so much contradicting evidence, I guess, with regards to this incident. First off, you have so many witnesses, but there's no evidence of it. This is 1996. People should have something, cameras, something that they could take with regards to this, but again, nothing to showcase. And then you have the military there taking their own stance, at least against what had occurred. And then you have some of the most primary witnesses, one of them now stating outright that it was something that was just not true. So it's up to you to decide what the final tally is. Like, was this all real? Was this made up? Was it a cover-up? Who knows? It's up to you to decide. I'm just presenting all the info. But if you wanted to go yet in another bizarre direction, I believe it was the government that was there have stated this. They did see something, in this case the girls, with regards to someone injured, something injured, but it was actually a person that was hovering. In fact, you're looking at a picture of here. The idea is that what they came across, what these sisters came across, was actually a homeless, mentally unstable man who didn't have a name of some sort, instead went by a nickname called Modinho. And because he was completely covered in mud, I guess, with regards to his derelict status, that's why they couldn't recognize him as a true human being and instead misinterpreted him as something else entirely different. And then the idea also that the military came about and then took him was mainly because of the fact that they were operating in their normal schedule. It seems like that's the idea by the government there, and that they were just simply picking him up because I guess he was creating a disturbance around that area. But from far away, or from what these girls saw, they misinterpreted it as something else. So, but that's it. That's all the information truly tied to this Varginha UFO incident. Still very controversial. In fact, doing a cursory glance online through YouTube, there are other videos out there where people just analyze it left and right. I mean, I saw some stuff, or I was looking at some stuff where it's almost like an hour's stuff of people talking about this incident. Even to this day, I mean, you're looking at a picture here. There's a water tower that's shaped into a UFO, creating a symbol for this incident, because even 20 years later now, it still remains a most talked about topic within that area. But again, so much of it is pointing to different directions. You could either say that yes, this is absolutely true, or because of the lack of evidence, hearsay, anonymous sources, all that stuff, that there's really not much to verify thereafter, and a lot of it could be fake. Who knows? Again, it's up to you to decide. But if anyone has any more information about this unique incident, still considered the most, I guess, prominent one within Brazil, please post those comments below. That would be very, very interesting to hear. So, alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.